In a few hours from now, we will have a decision on whether Vinesh Phogat will get her silver medal or not. But in the meantime, in a very, very abrupt twist, PT Usha is now suggesting that whatever happened in Paris was the responsibility of Vinesh and her coach, not that of the Indian Olympic Association's medical team. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. The sudden turnaround in PT Usha's statement has shocked everybody. It's been the big talking point today. Is Vinesh Phogat, after a few days of intense emotional support drawn from all quarters of India, now being thrown under the bus, left to fight for herself? It's very, very confusing because at one level, top lawyer Harish Salve has represented the IOA. Vinesh Phogat, of course, was represented by her own lawyers as she argued that at least the silver medal should be hers. Remember that Vinesh Phogat was found to be 100 grams above her requisite level. She spent a horrible and disturbing night trying to cut her weight that included extreme measures, including drawing blood, cutting her hair, and refusing or being denied water. Many people have argued that heads should roll, but the debate has been around whose head should roll. Today, a statement from PT Usha, herself a top athlete and an Olympian, suggested that the IOA's medical team was not to blame. In particular, a comment was made about the hate directed at Dr. Pardiwala, who had fronted the explanation given to the public at large alongside PT Usha to explain what efforts were made to cut Vinesh Phogat's weight. Questions are now being asked as to the timing of this statement, coming just hours before a final decision is due on whether Vinesh Phogat will get to keep her silver medal. For context, Vinesh Phogat is somebody who has led protests against then BJP MP Brij Bhushan Saran Singh on the streets of the national capital, accusing him, along with other wrestlers, of entrenched and institutional sexual harassment and abuse. To take us through this statement and also raise some other critically important questions, we're joined now by senior journalist Prem Panicker. He has a whole sort of blog and account going on this on his Substack account, so I do urge all of you to read it. And we're also joined by Sanjeev Gupta, who's of course been a senior IAS officer, who's also raised some very pertinent questions on his social media feed. I'll start with you, Prem. In a way, you are suggesting that we have not been asking the right questions. As I understand it, and I'm not a sports journalist, the question seems to me to be simply who took the decision on how to keep Vinesh's strength up before her final bout, and what to feed her in such a way that her weight could be contained, but she was not above the mark that she needed to be above. What do you think we've been missing, Prem? I'll start with you.
Well, Barkha, the thing is, firstly, you referenced the Usha statements. The question here is, which Usha do you believe? On August 8th, she puts out a statement. I quote, I am aware of the relentless efforts made by Vinesh's medical team, led by Dr. Dinesh Pardiwala and Chef de Mission Gagan Narang through the night to ensure that she could meet the competition requirements. That is on the 8th of August. Today, on the 12th of August, Usha puts out another statement. Again, quote, the responsibility of weight management of athletes for sports like wrestling, weightlifting, boxing, and judo is that of each athlete and his or her coach, and not is all in caps. That's Usha channeling her inner Donald Trump. The responsibility is not that of the IOA appointed Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Dinesh Pardiwala and his team. Now, who said that it is Dr. Pardiwala's responsibility? Usha said that in her first statement. Now she says it is not the responsibility. As far as the hate is concerned, look, if you're going to go burrowing around in the dark corners of the internet, particularly social media, you're going to find a lot of ill-informed hate. But the majority of the media, the commentators, even laypersons are asking questions. They're not directing hate at anybody. If these questions are being addressed to Dr. Pardiwala, that is because Dr. Pardiwala himself put himself forward as the person who was, if you remember that video that was put out on the morning of the 8th, Dr. Pardiwala and Usha sitting side by side, it's almost a P2C kind of video. And Dr. Pardiwala repeatedly says, we worked through the night, we did everything possible, we even cut her hair. It's all we. So it is not the media that is making up this whole thing that Dr. Pardiwala is answerable. It is Dr. Pardiwala saying, I'm the person who led the effort, and Usha endorsing that. So where does this whole thing of he's being unfairly targeted come in? The question about and to the questions that we are not asking, look, in elite sport, nothing is ad hoc. Vinesh has a full team. There is the coach. His name is Waller Akos. There is a sports scientist, a very renowned person, Dr. Wayne Lombard. There's a physio, Ashwini. What these people do, particularly during competition, is they monitor every single thing that Vinesh does. How much rest she's got, what she's eaten at what point, and that is measured to the micrograms. The contents are recorded, the water intake or the fluid intake is recorded at every single stage. The IOA measures the athlete only before the first weigh-in before on the morning of day one, but the support staff weighs them all the time. They need to make sure the athlete is in
But
tip-top condition, right? So all this data is digitized, it is available, and all it takes is for the IA to sit with the support staff, look through those data points, see where it possibly could have gone wrong, and come up with a clear
Can,
statement. End of
can,
story.
can, can I ask you a question before I go to Sanjeev on a different
Mhm,
related point that he's raised? You spoke about Vinesh Phogat's support staff. Now, journalists
correct.
I've been interviewing who are on the ground in Paris, they
Mhm,
say that the support staff must explain who took what decision. They seem to agree with the argument that Dr. Pardiwala, even though he was the front face alongside PT Usha in explaining all the efforts that the team made to cut her weight, was not primarily responsible, but we have not heard from the support staff at all. Do you think that that is an unreasonable point to raise, that Vinesh Phogat support staff, Vinesh Phogat herself, who must be so traumatized right now, they have not come forward to speak at all? So everything we know, we only know on behalf of that statement made by PT Usha and Pardiwala, which doesn't mean
yeah.
Pardiwala was accountable for it.
No, see, it's not about being accountable. It is about when something goes wrong, it is about finding out what went wrong so that at least it won't happen again, right? As far as the support staff is concerned, the only thing that we've heard, and this is on Dr. Lombard's Twitter stream, I saw
Yeah.
him quoting Daniel Boorstin, and he adds, can brush off reporters' comments as they are just doing their job. Difficult to accept lack of support for, I think he meant from, difficult to accept lack of support from those who know better. I don't know who he's pointing at, but the question that comes to mind is, has the support staff been told not to talk? Could that be because of the upcoming CAS decision? Or is there some other reason the support staff is not talking? Intriguingly, Vinesh, through the lawyer Rahul Mehra, has approached the Supreme Court with a petition saying that Sanjay Singh, the president of the uh, Wrestling Federation of India, which has been banned by or suspended by the sports ministry, was in
Yeah.
the games village and took decisions on her behalf without her knowledge and consent. So the whole thing is so murky, and it is murky when it need not be. It would have been a simple matter. Okay, fine. If the support staff can't talk for any sort of legal reasons, Usha can
Yeah.
sit with them, find out what precisely happened, and put the data out in the public domain. That ends all the conspiracy theories. It ends the problem right there.
Yeah.
Instead of
Yeah.
which,
I
what we're
think.
getting is a yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Instead of which, what we're getting is contradiction and, according to you, opacity and very confusing signaling. Because suddenly, this statement coming hours before the verdict, the timing of it is also raising eyebrows. As the Hindustan Times lead says, PT Usha throws Vinesh Phogat under the bus to defend IOA medical team. Now, Prem Panicker's point is that if Dr. Pardiwala was never responsible, and nobody is saying that he is or was, then why haven't we heard from the support team? And why was he taking the front row to explain at that point what had happened? Now, Sanjeev, you have raised a completely different set of questions, and you believe that somewhere a critical point of the law or the rules have been missed. Go ahead, Sanjeev.
Thanks, Barkha. At the outset, I'm not a wrestling expert. All I know are the rules and how the results are announced.
Sanjeev, we're losing you.
But
Yeah, just
having
start
worked in the
over.
government, yeah, okay. At the outset, I would say that I'm not a wrestling expert, but I can understand nuances of rules and laws very easily based on my experience of 36.5 years.
Yeah.
I'm not initially going into this sabotage theory, but I'll go purely by rules before I come to the latter aspect. Um, if you see that the rules which govern this Olympics, these are international wrestling rules which are issued by the UWW.
Mm-hmm.
A simple Google search, Google Baba leads to a document which is of the year 2019 or 2020 at best. So if you Google
Mm-hmm.
International Wrestling Rules of Universal World Wrestling, it takes you to a document of 2019 and 2020. Everybody, including Vinesh, Bajrang, all the lawyers of both sides, including the luminary lawyers, they were basing it on the 2019-2020 rules. So I thought, okay, they are basing on that, let me argue on that. Article 3 of those rules says very clearly that these rules shall mandatorily apply to Olympics. So there is no doubt at all about applicability. Article 8 says there are two parts to Article 8. One part says, I'm talking about the old rules, 2019-20. It says
Yeah.
that there shall be a 2 kg weight allowance in all international events and World Cup. Then in parenthesis, it says, except UWW ranking events. So I had argued UWW ranking events are a notch below. If 2 kg allowance is given in World Cup, so it has to be given also in Olympics. Then I showed a combo box of UWW website where ranking series and ranking events are listed in non-Olympic and Olympic separately. So they were definitely
Right.
treating Olympic on a separate pedestal. So I was saying that 2 kg allowance is allowed in Olympics as well. Unfortunately, everybody, including Vinesh herself and Bajrang, I think who's related to her, they all think that in Olympic not even a gram is allowed, right?
But in
So
that case, what was the basis on which he was
okay,
disqualified
so
or
what I'm saying
allowed to
is,
fight
okay,
the final bout?
my basis is that Olympic is not yet just another UWW ranking event. I now move on from that. If
Yeah.
you dig deeper into the website, there are latest rules of UWW 2023. So in
Yeah.
2024, those rules have to apply, and which nobody looked at. And I'm told not till the second round of arguments which are submitted yesterday. So those rules say 2 kg weight allowance is allowed to all events, all international events, World Cup, and all UWW ranking events. So even that exception is gone. So 2 kg was allowed in Olympics as well. There is no ambiguity about it, unless
So
there
are
is
you saying,
something.
I'm sorry if this is a silly question, but as I understand it, per the sequence of events, she did cut 2 kgs and was left with an extra surplus of 100 grams. You are saying
Yes,
you're saying she didn't need to cut that 2 kgs and 100
yes,
grams?
yes. What I'm trying to say that since 2023 rules clearly propound that all these three categories, that is international events, number two, World Cup, and number three,
Right.
UWW ranking events. In all these three cases, and that covers everything, including Olympics, 2 kg allowance is allowed. The poor lady, I'm saying poor lady, she had to work so hard to become 49.9 kgs on day one. And the AIMS doctors I spoke to, they told me very clearly by cutting the weight by such a large amount, there's a rebound effect on day two. So that rebound effect took place. She became more than 52. Then she tried her whole night to become less than 50, whereas she didn't need to be less than 50. Less than
So
52 was good enough.
so are you saying the initial disqualification was in violation of the rules?
Yes, exactly. And that's because 2019 and 20 rules were being read. In fact, one of the leading sports journalists talked to me today, and I've been in touch with most of them to get their perspective. They said, "Do you have a copy of 2023?" I said, "Yes." Then I shared with him. Then he agreed, "Yes, everything is
Right.
included." Then there was no need for such a mad rush of cutting the weight. What were the administrators? I mean, there's so many administrators that accompany this Olympic troop besides the support staff. What were they
Right.
doing there? Couldn't they read these rules? I could read this in 10 minutes. They could just tell her that don't worry so much, we'll fight out your case. So my point is that if it was fought out clearly, and before the finals, if they made an interim plea of deferment of finals by maybe a few hours. Remember, CAS in their statement day before yesterday have clearly said that Vinesh did not make any urgent plea for interim order. So somebody had to guide her that please
Okay.
make an interim plea.
So,
So
so,
that's
so
what
both
didn't
of
help her.
you got it. Now, both of you are you are basically saying the initial disqualification was in violation of the rules, and if someone had bothered to read the fine print, that would be evident. And I'd be curious to see if this argument was made before the CAS. Prem, I want to come to you. It all comes down to who is accountable and who should be coming forward to answer some of these questions, right? So far we've had the sports minister speak in parliament, and PT Usha and Dr Pardiwala speak on camera, and we actually haven't heard at all from Vinesh or her team. So there's a lot we don't know. What would you be looking to check in the immediate?
Well, like Sanjay just said, the weight is an argument about which set of rules the UWW is following in this Olympics. Is it the 2018 version or is it the 2022 version? Logic suggests that the latest set of rules are what should apply. Even
Yeah.
the 2018 rule, Barkha, has a lot of ambiguity about it. So, for instance, Sanjay quoted Article 8. Article 8 at the last line of one paragraph says, among other things, that no weight tolerance will be allowed at the second weigh-in. The very next line, it says that a 2 kg weight tolerance is allowed for World Cup and for international tournaments. Now, the Olympics is clearly an international tournament.
Yeah.
There's a lawyer, his name is Rustam Setna, whose bio says that he's a senior associate for sport at the law firm of Mills and Reeve. This lawyer had put out a LinkedIn post pointing to this, and also he made an additional point that ancillary UWW regulations define an international contest or an international tournament as one that includes five or either individual or team. It is one that includes five or more countries participating. 8 countries
Right.
participated here. So it ranks as an international tournament automatically, even by the old rules. The 2 kg tolerance should apply. To the question of who should be answerable, look, it's not about accountability, is to the whole team. You don't expect Vinesh Phogat, though an athlete should know the rules. Vinesh
Yeah.
Phogat in that state of mind is in no position to start thinking about all this, and in fact she was in hospital in the
Yeah.
immediate aftermath of the weigh-in. So you
Yeah.
can't blame her for not having made the right argument. But
Yeah.
who approached the French lawyers? What
Yeah.
were they briefed on? Nobody knows anything. See, the thing is, in all these conversations, we know or we think we do. We're told by sources that of what happened through the night. She was on the treadmill, she was in the sauna, she was shedding weight. We know all of that. We don't know what happened before that, because nobody who knows what happened before that has ever appeared before the public and spoken with data. When did she gain this weight? What was her diet? What does the support staff think went wrong, etc., etc.? And then comes the whole argument about whether she was still qualified or not.
Yeah.
So accountability, look, what is the IOA's role in all of this? It is to manage
Yeah.
the entire contingent. Every issue that comes up is basically for the IOA to take the lead and do something about it. It is
So
not
do
the
you
IOA's
believe
business.
do you believe PT Usha's statement today is kind of disowning responsibility that is theirs?
Well, I don't have to believe it. She clearly disowns responsibility by saying it is not the job of Dr. Dinshaw Pardiwala and team. But she's
Yeah.
the one who said it was Dr. Pardiwala who led. We are not saying that it is Dr. Pardiwala's responsibility. Usha said that. Usha said that she was leading the team effort. Now Usha says it's not his business. So
Yeah.
Usha first
That is,
needs to
yeah.
make up her mind.
Correct. Sanjeev, to you, there are comments in our audience stream that remind us that Aman Sehrawat, who did win a bronze, his weight too had to be cut by over 4 kilos. There's another example of a Japanese wrestler who was disqualified in Tokyo 2020 for being 50 grams overweight. So my question to you is that if indeed there is a 2 kilo kind of grace that is allowed, then why was any of this necessary? Why was the weight cutting necessary?
Uh, Mr. Panicker raised a very pertinent issue of Article 8 having two seemingly contradictory clauses.
Yeah.
This is a settled principle of law. If in any set of rules or statutes, there are two lines which are not notwithstanding other, so there is no non obstante clause. This rule 8 or Article 8 has one part which says 2 kg allowance shall be provided. Then it uses another sentence, no more tolerance. It doesn't use the word allowance. It says no more tolerance. So 2 kg
Yeah.
allowance is there, and tolerance is with respect to machine error or any other human error that can take place. So it says that once we've allowed 52 kgs, 2 kgs, no more tolerance. So these have to be read harmoniously. These need to be read in conjunction, and there is no contradiction between the two. So 52 kgs is allowed, and not more, and no more tolerance after that is fine. Now the question: why did Aman have to shed 4 kgs?
Yeah.
Because everybody is thinking that 2019 rules are applicable, and my information is that even the lawyers till day before yesterday evening were looking at 2019 rules. 2023 rules they chanced upon just at the 11th hour when they knew
But then
that we
why
had.
was but then even if our side is making a mistake by looking at the old rules, why was Vinesh disqualified if the contemporary rules apply and they are as you have read them, Sanjeev?
Yeah, as I said that uh, everybody across the board, I would say, including Vinesh, Bajrang, and others, they thought that not even a kilogram or not even a gram allowance is there, and that's why all this happened. Uh, the worst point is that you pointed about Sanjeev Singh or Sanjay Singh, who's the acting
Wrestling
or
Federation.
ad hoc president or resident, which is superseded by UWW. What he
Right.
has written is crap. That's a mercy petition. What is he saying? That look, our Vinesh played very well till semi-finals, so allow her to play finals. It was deliberate. He is supported by so many officers from
Yeah.
Sports Authority of India, from Sports Ministry. He could have done a better job in writing that email and publishing it on the web. So I am very clear that he did not want to help Vinesh at all. Otherwise, he could have put a legal argument. At least this argument, which I have been putting on the web time and again,
Yeah.
when you're sinking, you have to clutch at straws. When you know there's no difference, you have to put out whatever difference that comes to your rescue. And
Yeah.
also, I mean, as far as Mrs. P.T. Usha is concerned, I mean, she has been my idol even before she lost that bronze by 1/100 of a second. I was very disappointed when she said all this today. I
Yeah.
mean, is this the way of giving up your own when the verdict is about to come? Why should she be saying that at all? She should have been
Yeah.
talking the same language at least till the time verdict is delivered. It
Yeah.
was not on. Yeah.
Yeah, let me give the last word on this to Prem. Prem, as you and I were talking earlier in the day, a lot of respected medical voices from the community, fraternity rather, the medical fraternity, who obviously know Dr. Pardiwala. I do not know him personally. Did also take objection to the way social media was personally targeting him. They made the point that he is actually an orthopedic, his specialty is orthopedics. His specialty is not nutrition. That we need to hear from Vinesh's nutritionist, the nutritionist that the coach would have probably collectively decided. And others have also made the point about Vinesh's support staff. Sanjeev Gupta says he's extremely disappointed at PT Usha's statement, but and the timing of it is very peculiar. It's like hours before this verdict. Who, when you see doctors rallying around Dr. Pardiwala and saying, "Look, he's being scapegoated," what do you say?
No, I go back to what I said in the beginning. Nobody went through nobody went online to find out who Dr. Pardiwala is to start scapegoating him. Dr. Pardiwala came forward and said, we have been working through the night. Now, there
Yeah.
are still further questions, right? You've been working through the night, granted. The question is, what went wrong? And this is not to fix blame on somebody and hang them out to dry. The point I made earlier still stands that if something has gone so dramatically wrong, we need to understand where it went wrong. So at least we can make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Look at the WFI, for instance. Who exactly is running wrestling in the Olympic year? You have a WFI that has been suspended by the sports ministry. The sports ministry in April told the Delhi High Court the ministry will neither recognize nor provide any support to WFI activities. The WFI is a national sports federation. What is the prime responsibility of a national sports federation? It is to manage the sport, it is to manage the athletes, it is to select international teams to prepare them for international competition. Preparation is not just the math preparation. Preparation is also reading, understanding, and informing the athletes about the rules that they will be playing under. Tell me, from January of 2023 until as of date, who exactly is the WFI? So when you start asking how is this happening, who is fixing responsibility? Firstly, nobody is hating on Dr. Pardiwala. At least nobody with a bit of common sense is hating on Dr. Pardiwala. Secondly,
Yeah.
any question that is being addressed to Dr. Pardiwala is because Dr. Pardiwala himself put himself forward
Yeah.
as the person who led the team that did the work. And thirdly, the pertinent question of how did this all happen? It all happened because for us, generally, sport is for political patronage, it is for corruption, it is for everything except sport itself.
Yeah.
And that is why we land up in the mess that we are in.
Sanjeev, very briefly, I'm going to read out two comments from our audience. Tarun Kaushik, a doctor is a doctor. Dr. Pardiwala did his duty to check for injuries, but why don't we have someone who's an expert on the laws and policies of the Olympics? This is the failure of the Wrestling Federation of India. But the Wrestling Federation of India isn't meant to exist in its present form. So it's all rather befuddling what the powers, authorities, and influence of this Sanjay Singh are. Another viewer says, absolutely, Dr. Pardiwala is being scapegoated because we haven't received any statement from A, Vinesh's coach, two, nutritionist, three, physiotherapist. If either of you would like to pick this up. And lastly, Barkha, it seemed like an organizational and national failure of colossal proportions, says Prasad Duvuri. I am afraid I have time for brief last comments. Sanjeev, I'll start with you and then Prem.
Um, what's I know this silence from Vinesh is inexplicable. She should speak out. Even if she's unwell,
Hmm.
she can speak out. I'm sure that she may not have been told about these nuances of law which I have told today. But
Yeah,
then she should speak her mind out. Number two, the way she is being attacked for participating in 50 kgs and some fake stories are being weaved by trolls. I will call them trolls. You
yeah,
know what they're saying? That she pushed herself to 50 kgs just to make it to Olympics after losing 10-0 to Anju in 53 kg trials. Yes, it is true that she lost 10-0 to Anju after she got her from Jantar Mantar. Maybe she wasn't sufficiently fit. She lost. But then what does
yeah,
the rule say? Rule say that first four persons, I mean the top person can be challenged by any of the first four for the final decision on the berth. So she was
yeah,
disallowed that challenge. And then she had no option but to go to 50 kgs and then do all these night outs for cutting to 49.9 kgs and 50.1 kgs. It is so distressing. So she is like these stories, the way it is happening, I'm very, very upset about it. That she was trying for 53 kgs. She should have been allowed a challenge. If she lost that challenge, fine, she goes out, no Olympics. But when she was not even allowed to challenge, which was in consonance with the rules, she
yeah.
had to go to 50 kgs and cut down 3 kgs and so on and so forth.
Prem, last comment to you, just with one more. Sorry, coming to you in a second. Ajay Mahara says, when we win, we don't celebrate our coaches. We don't have the right to prosecute persecute rather our coaches and doctors today. So lots of different opinions coming in. I'll give you the closing argument. Prem.
Uh, Sanjay brought up the question of Vinesh not qualifying in the 53 kg category. He's right. The trolls have been going on and on about it, and they're completely misinformed. What did happen was selection trials were held, and selection trials are normally in 2 rounds. The first round is every eligible wrestler gets to participate. The point of that round is to pick the top 4, who then go into a playoff to select the top, the person who represents in that category. What happened in this case was the first round, the elimination round happened. Vinesh was clearly getting into round 4 because she was fighting the semi-final. Even if she loses, she's still in the top 4. So what she did in that bout against Anju was she just stood there. She offered no defense. She did not attempt to attack. Within 10-15 seconds, it was over. She was just, Anju threw her on the mat. Vinesh just lay there because she didn't need to exert herself at that point. She had the playoff coming. What happened was, this was under the aegis of the ad hoc committee, the preliminary rounds. By then, the selection happened. I mean, that election happened. Sanjay Singh came in. Then the whole thing about whether or not there would be. The playoff was cancelled. And even as early as March, Vinesh had no idea what category she would get to contest in. The official word was that Antim would be contesting 53. Therefore, she had no option. It is not that she lost in 53 and therefore went down. And secondly, that commenter who said this is a colossal, whatever, I don't want to use the word.
Failure.
Failure, yes. I was thinking of a different word. It is a systemic sort of issue that starts from the top, from the sports ministry, through the WFI, through the IOA, all the way down to the ground. It is not one single person who you can sort of hold up and we found what they call the scapegoat. That doesn't work. It is a sports infrastructure's fault.
Well, we'll have to leave it there. These are astounding points. Sanjeev, did you have a 10-seconder? I really do have to close. Did you want to add something? 10 seconds?
Somebody asked about legal support.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, we have a chef de mission. Couldn't he just prick his brains or ask somebody in the ministry? Ministry people all reach. I reached out to the officers everywhere. They could have just told, okay, hold on, we are giving you an input. We're giving this input. So nobody is having a legal acumen there, quite possible. But then there's whole infrastructure in today's IT world. You can get feedback within half an hour from anywhere in the world. I mean,
we have Harish Salve representing the IOA. So I don't know, I don't know. There are so many questions mounting. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. Both of you have flagged extremely important questions. I just think it's probably too late for whatever's going to be decided tomorrow. But that doesn't mean that the questions should not be asked and these points should not be flagged. Thank you for educating us, Prem Panicker, Sanjeev Gupta. Thank you for your time, and to our audience, see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.